Yes. Uh, First, I'll give a brief introduction about myself. My name is Vikram Simha Reddy, Vellinity. I have secured All India rank 541 in this year's UPSC Civil Service examination. And coming to my background, I have done computer science and engineering from my university. I passed out in the year 2018, and I have started my UPSC preparation in 2020. And since then, I have been giving my attempts continuously, and this is my sixth attempt. It's been a long journey, and if I have to share my journey, I have given total six attempts, and I have cleared prelims five out of six times. And after that, I have appeared for UPSC interview three times, and fortunately, I have cleared with a decent rank this time. And I would say, after seeing the results, my reaction was like it was more of a feeling of relief rather than happiness because it's a very long journey and I have been in the position like searching for my name in the final PDF twice and failed to get through this exam. So this time I was fortunate enough to clear this exam with a decent rank. And now I'll share my strategy. I'll start with prelims and then I'll go towards mains and then later on discuss about the interview. So since prelims is the first stage and we have very less time, I'll give more focus. I'll give more focus to prelim strategy, and also prelims is my core strength because in my six attempts I've cleared five times, and in most of the cases, in three or four out of six times I've even cleared the forest cutoff, and I feel it's my strength. So I will give more emphasis on prelim strategy. And when it comes to sources, like it's the same, it's the same that every topper recommends you. For example, for history, it is Tamil Nadu textbook for ancient history, and for modern history, it's the Spectrum. And for economy, I followed Vivek Singh economy book and along with his MCQs. And for environment, I followed PMFIS environment textbook. And for quality, it is Lakshmikant. And for science and technology, I relied mostly on current affairs and uh, basics on topics like biotechnology, space technology, defense technology. So for this, I've prepared my notes. And coming to the main strategy, if you are a beginner who is going to start your prelims preparation now, and it's your first attempt, then I think you should give more time to prelims because prelims is getting dicey year on year, and the difficulty level has increased a lot in the last 4 to 5 years. So I think I suggest to give at least 4 to 5 months dedicatedly for prelims preparation. So if you are starting now, then I would say uh, ideally prelims preparation should start in January. Since January, you should plan in such a way that you get at least 4 to 5 months of dedicated preparation. So first of all, I would say one should start with standard textbooks for each subject, the sources which I have recommended earlier. So you should divide in such a way that it should be very uh, structured and rigorous, so that you cover every section. I would say the plan should be like this. In January, you should start with polity or economics, the core subjects, and then you have to revise it two. So first time, you should read the entire textbook without making any notes, as well as without underlining anything. So in this way, you cover entire topics without any intention, so that you will be able to read with an open mind. Then after your first revision, I would suggest you to read again for the second revision, but this time it should take half of the time, and the focus should be on reading important topics as well as important events, so that you will underline in this revision, underline uh, each and every key point that you find in your standard textbooks, so that it will become easy for you in the next revision. So after finishing two revisions, I would suggest to open any subject-wise mock tests which are provided by coaching institutes, and you pick up those things like for quality, economy, those section-wise test series. If you bring it, then you have to solve those section-wise tests. With this, it will be kind of a third revision, so that all the things which you read will be retained in your mind forever if you write those tests. And after two revisions, the test you should write the sectional test. And the goal of the test is not to score very high. It is just to uh, get the practice of solving MCQs as well as retaining the information that we have gained in the first two revisions. And after these steps, the next one should be a rapid revision. So you will have first revision, second revision, sectional test, and then a rapid revision. In rapid revision, you should focus on areas where you have done mistakes in your sectional test. So the sectional test, you will make many mistakes because you are just a beginner. So in this rapid revision, we should focus more on the peripheral topics where we are making mistakes in our sectional test. And in the other topics, I think because we have read it twice already, uh, we'll be we'll be doing most of them correct. But in peripheral areas, we'll do many mistakes. We'll commit many mistakes in the sectional test. So these peripheral areas will be covered in the rapid revision. So once you do these four stages for a subject, then it will be like we can move on to another subject. So you have to do these four stages for the polity, and then next you have to repeat it for economy, for history, for environment, for science and technology, etc. So if you ideally if you begin this in January, it should end by mid-March for all the core subjects. And once this is finished, at least 60% of your prelims preparation is done. Now the focus should be on current affairs. So from mid-March onwards, you should dedicatedly prepare for current affairs for at least 1 month or 15 days to 1 month. So I have used newspaper. I used to read newspaper daily in the morning. But apart from that, during this specific period, I took I took up magazine compilation, the current affairs compilation, which is prepared by coaching institute. I used Vision, not Vision. In the initial years, I used to use the Vision PT65, but in the later attempt, I used Insight iOS ka Factly magazine. I think that is sufficient for your prelims preparation because it covers most of the facts in a crisp way. So that is for current affairs preparation. And during this current affairs preparation, we should also start attempting full length tests. We have already finished sectional tests. Now the focus should be on attempting full length tests during this period. So in the morning session, we can cover current affairs, and post lunch or in the evening, we can attempt these full length tests. And so now you will be finished with sectional tests as well as some of the full length tests. And once this is done by mid April, then our focus should be on revision. So now you will revise entire subjects once again from mid April. And then one more thing you have to do is, like while attempting the sectional test as well as the full length test, you'll commit many mistakes. So what you have to do is you have to prepare a notebook called Book of Wrongs. I have followed this following a topper's advice. Now you can do it in the online as the offline format. I have preferred the online notes, and in the Evernote you can make a notebook with a name called Book of Wrongs, and in that you can divide the notebook into different notes, uh, subject-wise notes, like it should have polity, economy, history, and all. And whatever the mistakes that you commit in these tests, sectional tests as well as full length tests, write down the facts which you have missed, into that book of wrongs notebook in the particular notes subject wise. And then I think these are the things which we have committed mistakes. So I think this will help for a revision at the end just before the main prelims exam. So we should compile this book of wrongs during just after finishing those tests, sectional tests as well as full length tests. And now we have reached till mid-April, and now we have to focus on revision. Like we have to start with quality and then entire all the subjects sequentially. And this time it will not take much time because we already revised it 3 times. Now it will be the fourth revision. Once this is done, we just 1 week before the prelims, we should cover this book of wrongs, and this book of wrongs should be covered just before the film so that these mistakes will not commit again in the main exam. And the main thing is people do commit mistakes during the mock test, but the main thing is once we have once we have studied the correct answer, then we should not repeat the same mistakes in the final exam. So this thing, if you follow this strategy, then I think the possibility of committing mistakes reduces by a drastic. And during the same thing, uh, now we have covered temporally. Now I'll discuss about the mindset that we should have while solving these test series. So these mock tests, first of all, you have to manage time because of the lengthy questions these days. UPSC is increasing the difficulty level by giving multiple statements within a single question. So now our focus should be on finishing the paper within time. So during the mock test itself, our aim should be to finish the paper in 1 hour 30 minutes or 1 hour 40 minutes. So I used to diligently follow this approach. Like I used to keep a stopwatch and I used to complete entire 100 questions within 1 hour 30 minutes. So if you follow within this time limit, then the final exam you will be able to 1 hour 55 minutes or so. So if we practice it before itself, then we can have a buffer so that even if something is wrong, we still finish the paper on time. And second, after this time management, second thing is you should have a mindset of a gamer, and you should not think that you are writing this exam to prove your knowledge. No, you should attempt filling with an objective of scoring points or winning over your opponent. So if this is your mindset, then you will think logically instead of using your information or your knowledge to solve the questions. Rather, you will think more logically and you will attempt the questions with open mind. Because most of the times we'll trust our memory more than our logic. So if you treat this exam as a game, then you will use your logics more than your memory. So that should be our mindset. And also, I say you should have curiosity. For films, it's all about having as much uh, updated as possible about the current happenings. So when you read the newspaper, you should be curious enough to go beyond the newspaper. For example, now we are seeing Iran as well as Israel conflict. So if you see the news, uh, there are in the newspaper you'll find terms like the Strait of Hormuz, etc. So if you find those terms, then you have to open your Google Map and then you have to check the surrounding states or the straits which are there apart from the Strait of Hormuz, and you have to uh, read about more facts like how much of trade passes through the Strait of Hormuz and what is its impact. So these factual information you should be curious enough to go beyond the newspaper. And other thing is, while reading the newspaper for film, you should not read the other politics as well as other movie-related news. Our focus should be mostly on covering the factual information from the newspaper. I did not make any notes from the newspaper because I felt prelims is more about identification of the answer rather than uh, rather than memorizing and repeating the exam. So it's an objective paper. So if you read it with an open mind, then you will be able to recollect after seeing the options in the MCQ. So this is my prelims strategy. And for CSAT, I would say since my background is engineering and since I have a very good interest in mathematics as well as reasoning, I must prepare it dedicatedly for that. And I've cleared CSAT in all my attempts with a decent margin. So I would say if you feel you are good in CSAT, then I think only thing you have to do is you have to give 2 days during your prelims preparation to the CSAT. During those 2 days, you can solve the PYQs. And once you feel that you are crossing the 80 to 90 marks, then it is good enough. And for English, I think uh, I used to do this way. Like I used to start with English, my second GS second paper, and then I used to finish all the English questions from the question paper, and then I used to go to maths because in English comprehension I have 80 to 90% accuracy, and it also doesn't take much time. So I used to start with that and finish it in first 50 minutes, and then the rest of the time I solved mathematics, and I used to ensure that I solve at least 50% combining both mathematics as well as English. So once that is done, I think CSAT will be easy to clear. So this is prelims preparation. Now I'll come to the mains strategy. For mains requires completely a different approach because it is a subjective paper and it requires an analytical mindset. Whereas for prelims, it is more of an objective paper where things like presence of mind and factual information and revision these help. But when it comes to mains, it's more about analysis and answer writing. So for mains, I will not discuss much about the sources because it's already out in the market as well as in various websites about the sources of the topics used for their mains preparation. I'll focus more on the answer writing for each topic in the main subject, like on GS2, GS3. And then I'll focus about ethics and essay. And finally, I'll speak about optional strategy. So I'll focus more on value addition and answer writing techniques, which are required for every sem of the general studies. Now coming to the GS1, GS1, you all know it has the art and culture and history and geography, society, so on. So uh, for each of these section, our approach should be different because the demand of that subject is also different. So first we'll start with art and culture. So in art and culture, we have to first make notes. Mains is all about making short notes, crisp notes, and also it's about sticking to the syllabus because unlike prelims, mains has a definite syllabus with key pointers. So our notes should cover each and every part of the syllabus. So when it comes to art and culture, we have to make two kinds of notes. One is you can make a temporal notes, like starting with the Harappans and even before that as well. And then you can go on in chronological order. From Harappans next, you can start in Mauryan Gupta. So you can make temporal notes, and within every kingdom, for example, for Mauryan, you can have multiple dimensions like covering art, culture, literature, and all. So if you make notes in this format, then it will be easy to reproduce in the exam. And the basic things we already covered in the prelims. So now the focus should be on making answers in question and answer format, which are exactly uh, which exactly meet points of the question, subjective question. So after making these temporal notes, one can also make a theme-wise notes. For example, we can make notes on literature covering all the time periods, like starting from Mauryans till the uh, Marathas. So similarly, we can have a theme-based notes on painting, on literature, or architecture, craft architecture. So these wise, in this way, we can have two kinds of notes. One is a temporal note, another is a theme-based note. And here also there are certain areas which UPSC gives much more weightage. For example, the Bhakti movement or the Cholas, Pallavas, Cholas, Bhakti movement, rock cut architecture. So if you go through the PYQs, the previous year question, then you can recognize certain patterns which UPSC is following. So based on that, you're also focus more on these important themes. And once this is done, I think while writing the answers, history and culture answers require specific facts to be written in the answer. For example, if the question is about Chola literature, then your introduction should mandatorily should have the time period of the Cholas, and you can also draw the map if it is needed. But I did not draw any maps for art and culture, but definitely it should have the time period of the Chola in the introduction itself. And if possible, you can also mention some fact about them, like the golden, this follows a golden period of South India or something like that, we can use. So, because these art and culture requires specific facts in the question, and also in the body part, you should give examples for each and every point. So if it is about rock architecture, then you should give example. Like you can give the example of cave, some cave structure, like the rock architecture in a cave, or the Mahabalipuram rock architecture. So something you should give in the example in each and every point, so that it will add value to your answer and it additional half mark to 1 mark for every answer. Then that will make a lot of difference at the end. And when it comes to conclusion for this type of question, I would prefer writing a conclusion which includes a relevance to the contemporary times. For example, last year on 2025, I got a question about the Harappan architecture. So I concluded it highlighting how Harappan architecture is relevant in current times, where we are facing issues like urban flooding because of the lack of drainage system, which the Harappans have developed long ago. So in this way, you can add the relevance in your conclusion part so that it will be much more interesting to be evaluated. And even when it comes to modern history, modern Indian history, the freedom struggle part. So here also you can make temporal notes following the chronological order, and then you can also have theme-based notes. For example, uh, on education, educational reform, or you can have a contribution of peasants to India's freedom struggle, contribution of working class to India's freedom struggle. So in this way, if you can make theme-based notes, I think it will be very helpful in revision as well as in writing answers in the main exam. So you need not spend much of the time in thinking and building an answer. You can directly attempt the question without wasting much time if you have such notes. Now I'll come to geography part. Geography, I should admit that it is the difficult part for me during the entire preparation because I did not feel geography as a comfortable thing for me because it is most of the physical geography is technical and it requires focus. So I used to make notes for geography in such a way that I should not miss any basic topic. If it is an advanced topic, then I'll leave it or I'll try to manage it. But at least the basic topics you should cover and you should not miss them in the exam. So for geography, I used to uh, divide the notes into different areas like geomorphology, climatology, and oceanography and environmental geography, economic geography. So if you make these notes, you have to ensure that you add examples as well as facts in each of these areas. For example, in economic geography part, you can write, you can compile about sources of minerals, petroleum, coal, etc. So all these things should be covered. And for physical geography, you should read about you should, the plate tectonics, landforms. All these things are important in the exam, and are also components of disaster in the GS1 as well, like the quakes, volcanoes. So you have to read the causes of them, the consequences of them, as well as the measures which are required to manage these events like the earthquakes and volcanoes, tsunamis, etc. So in this way, you can prepare for the geography section. And the geography section, the main thing is you should draw a map for each and every geography section, unless it is nowhere related to the map. But in general, it is a unwritten rule that geography question should have a map. And when it comes to history, also you can draw certain maps if it is about kingdom, or even if someone is good at diagrams, then they can also go with drawing the architectural things like you can draw Taj Mahal, or you can show various features of the Islamic architecture in that. Now we'll go to society part. For society, the keys you have to write keywords. For example, the commodification, the stratification. So these are the keywords, with sociological terms, which give more theoretical depth to your answers. So you have to use these key terms. Along with that, the sociology requires statistics. For example, the urban population, the number of urbanization, the level of urbanization in India, or we can also data on number of population who are living in slums, the area which is affected by urban flooding. So these kind of statistics help in society, also the population statistics. And also, apart from that, you should write examples like the latest trends. If you remember, we got a question on work from home in the 2023 paper, I think. So these are new forms of society changes that are coming up. So you should be open to read about them, and you should also include such examples in your societal answers, so that your answers stand out when you evaluate them. Now we'll move towards GS2. GS2, we all know, it has various components like polity, governance, social issues, and international relations. Polity is the easiest part for me because my optional is political science and international relations. I used to use my PSR knowledge in the GS2 without any restrictions. But the key thing is in polity questions, you should give both sides for every question. Even if the question did not demand, you should write both pros as well as cons. But if the question, it all depends. Like if the question explicitly asks you about to ask you to critically examine, then you have to give equal weightage to the pros and cons. Otherwise, you'll write more pros and or three or four cons. So it should have elements like uh, articles, constitution articles, constitutional amendments, Supreme Court judgments, committees, etc. And you can compile it in a separate notes so that it will be easy to reproduce. For example, if the question is about uh, local bodies, then definitely it should have uh, recommendations like the second ARC or the Finchi Commission recommendation. All these recommendations should be there. Manishankar Ayer committee, all these committee, you have to compile it before itself, and you can also make a compilation of judgments so that you include them in your answers. Uh, this will give you additional marks, additional half mark to 1 mark in every answer. And you can also use scholars. Like I used the Granville Austin uh, comments on constitution as well as on different topics, federalism and all. You use them liberally. And now, when it comes to governance, you have to rely more on the PYQs. because most of the themes get repeated in the governance section. Governance as well as social issues. You have to prepare PYQs in standard format, like with introduction, body conclusion for the last 5 to 10 years. I think apart from that, you can have basic notes on issues like RTI, social audit, e-governance. So if you prepare notes for this and PYQs, I think it is sufficient for this governance and social issues part. And for social issues part, I think it is also important to read statistics about the vulnerable population and also their process, NGOs, etc., NGOs, self-help groups. So all these require separate emphasis by including key facts as well as judgments. And if there is any committees, you can add them in that. So in this way, your answer will look different and not a generic answer. Answer will be more a specialized answer. And I used to make a notes. Like for example, there is a judgment. I am not able to recall it now for the NGOs. And for self-help groups, there is NABARD definition, the number of active self-help groups in the country. Uh, I think in the previous economic survey, there was data on self-help groups, so you can use it liberally. And for e-governance, you can remember the key governance measures of the government, and then you can make a list of them, and then you can add it as an example for each and every uh, positive thing that you write about e-governance, like the transparency, accountability. So here, for this governance and social issues part, you can make frameworks uh, for mains. For example, you can good governance has certain elements like 8 elements. So that could be a framework to write a governance answer. Similarly, you can also uh, go with other frameworks like political, economic, social advantages. So these type of frameworks will help you to come up with answers in very quick time. Now, apart from that, now we'll move to international relations. So IR is also a very dynamic section, a dynamic section which requires decent amount of focus because in the last 2 years uh, the questions have become much more tricky and not very direct questions. So I think we should follow the current affairs diligently because most of the news these days is on foreign affairs. So we should make a notes out of it. And also for every topic, subtopic, we have to make notes in a specific format. Like it should have cover various dimensions. If it is between India and our neighbors, then it should have dimensions like geopolitical importance, strategic importance, economic importance, and cultural people to people ties, science and technology cooperation. So if you cover all these dimensions, then I think it will make a comprehensive answer in international relations. And also, you should not forget to include certain key terms, IR terms, like you can use uh, Gujarat doctrine or you can use neighborhood first policy. You can use terms like weaponization of interdependence by US or US transactional policy under Trump, or you can use violation of multilateralism as a key term, and you can also use terms like South solidarity or voice of global South. So these terms like Vasudeva Kutumbakam. So these keywords, if you write in introduction or conclusion, it will give much more depth to your IR answers. And now we'll move to GS3. In GS3, we have many subsections ranging from economy to agriculture, science and technology, and internal security. So each one also require specific emphasis and different answer writing style. For the economy, I think especially when it comes to um, answer writing, one should include as many facts as possible. And this time I have secured very good marks in GS3. I got 96 marks in GS3, which is above average because GS3 is not doing well in the last 2 to 3 years, and 96 is a very good score in GS3. I used to write many facts. For example, I used to liberally quote economic survey, budget, and as well as statistics. For example, MSMEs. If you're talking about MSMEs, then you have to write statistics like what is the exports done by MSMEs, what is the contribution to the GDP, so on and so forth. So for uh, each and every sector, you should make as many facts as possible and try to memorize them so that these three demands facts as well as statistics. So I think we should give additional emphasis on these things, and also we should write about government schemes in the uh, economy and agriculture area, especially in agriculture section. If we can prepare or compile government schemes, then I think it would be helpful in not only writing an answer, but sometimes there will be direct questions on the schemes itself. So these sections should be covered thoroughly, and there are other simple topics like food crossing and all. So these give high returns. So one should make notes on them and then have to add value to that using government schemes as well as various facts. So this will cover the economy and agriculture section. And now, when it comes to disaster management, mostly the questions revolve around measures that are required for disaster management, examples of recent disasters, and uh, measures which are required to prevent them. So you have to make notes for each of them. How do you prevent them? First, you can have basic notes about the disasters, the points which are common to all the disasters, and then you can go to specific disasters and then write measures which are required to manage them. And here also in disaster management, you can use keywords like you can use the terms like disaster risk reduction, achievement of Paris goals or sustainable development goals. So these way you can you can also use Apada Mitra for community participation. So you can also use technological measures like the GIS system to map the vulnerable area. So these kind of things, the things you can use in disaster management. Now, when it comes to internal security, we have probably this is the easiest part in the GS3 because most of the questions come from the syllabus itself and there will be less deviation. So we should prepare notes for each and every syllabus pointer, ranging from left-wing extremism to cybersecurity, terrorism, all everything we should make notes. And the most important thing is like in every internal security question, there will be uh, there will be a subpart in the question asking about the measures which are required to manage the particular internal security issue. So here we can have a framework for these measures part covering various dimensions like the technological ways to address the issue, international or bilateral measure to address this issue. We can use community measures like the Apple Mitra which I have used in the previous example. Now you can use how we can promote civic education and build a vigilant citizen. So such things you can use or using media to raise awareness and all. And you can use legal, technological, financial, all these measures you can cover so that the answer will look multidimensional. And also, you have to make PYQ notes for this internal security section because most of the questions uh, in internal security repeat every 2 years or every year. So if you cover the PYQs and then you have a basic notes, uh, you can answer each of the internal security questions. And the other thing is you have to follow the latest developments in the internal security area, for example, the drone warfare, electronic warfare. So these space-based warfare, maritime warfare. So these kind of notes if you have, then you can add them in questions. Otherwise, the questions can also come directly on these uh, evolving topics. And PYQ notes, I think you should first uh, search. You can use online sources. Like if you give question and enter in the Google, then it will use some results. And also you can use Chat GPT to add analysis part to your PYQ question, and also you will have your own notes or standard book. So these from these sources you can uh, write PYQ notes for the last 5 to 10 years, so that if some question comes directly from these PYQs, then you will finish it in very less of time, and it will help you in on managing the time. And now I'll move on to essay. Uh, the basic thing is like this year I got 100 marks in essay, which is less, but I think the essay marking has come down. I think it's an average score now. And essay, the main thing is you shouldn't follow any template, because mechanically following a template is not giving any results. People are scoring very less marks, like in 80s, 70s. If you go by the standard social, political, economic kind of dimensional essay, I think the essay should now focus more on the analysis and less on examples. And the other thing is essay introduction and conclusion should be very unique and interesting, so that it serves the interest of the evaluator. Because uh, everyone if everyone starts to write the same examples in the introduction, then it will not be very interesting for the evaluator. So I would suggest to avoid using common examples or anecdotes of key personalities like Gandhi or Buddha, Ambedkar. So these examples were used repeatedly uh, from the last 5 to 10 years. So even if you do it, like it will be a repetition for the evaluator, and it will not add any value. So I would suggest you to pick up unique examples, unique and interesting examples. You can use various sources like ChatGPT. You can use, or you can use collect the examples from the newspaper, and uh, you can also search in the internet. And I think this is sufficient for essay. The focus should be more on analysis, like you can raise questions from the essay topic itself, and then you can try to answer them in your essay. So that is the best approach rather than going by a mechanical format, dimensional format. Now we'll move to ethics. I think for ethics, the main thing lies in understanding the demand of the question, and then writing the question with analysis as well as examples. So many of them tend to write only examples in the body, but I think that is not the right approach. You should first address the demand. You should first write the argument, and then you should use the example for your argument and not the argument itself. The example should not become an argument itself. And for this, you can compile examples beforehand itself. Like you can have different examples. Like one is you can have list of civil servants who have done great work. So you can use their initiatives directly in your contest. And other thing is in each and every field you can have certain examples. Like you can compile certain examples from the business field, from the sports business, and the politics and international relations. So if you compile these examples from different fields, then it will be easy to quote them, and your answer will look much more diverse rather than using only examples from one stream. Now, and the other thing is in ethics paper, you should focus on time management, because ethics is very lengthy, and especially the case studies part. So one should try to finish all the answers within the 3 hours time, and this comes only with practice. So you have to practice more. The ethics answer should be practiced more, and you have to write better. And I would suggest to enroll into an ethics step series, so that you will be able to understand the time management, and you will be able to uh, finish the answers in time. And the case studies, the other thing is you have to first answer theoretical questions. I would suggest rather than starting with case studies in the exam, because once you start the case studies, it will consume most of your time, and by the time you arrive at theoretical questions, the time will be very less, and you have to uh, you will compromise on the quality of the theoretical questions because there will be 13 questions and each requires uh, thinking, independent thinking, and it requires different examples. So if you does not will not have time, then you will rush through these answers and your quality will be compromised. And evaluator also starts with theoretical questions. So it is also about creating a positive impression on the mind of the evaluator. So theoretical questions should be started first. And also case studies, you can solve various case studies thematically, like one for uh, like how do you respond during a disaster, and other is how do you reject your superiors' advice to compromise on a particular issue. So these things you have to prepare beforehand, and then you have to give your justification. So people miss the justification part. So they focus on giving ethical dilemma issue, introduction, and different options and their pros and cons, and they'll go jump to conclusion. But the key thing is you have to provide justification. Why did you choose a particular option over the other? And it should be backed by ethical principles. Your justification should include uh, ethical principles. You should follow ethical principles. You can use Gandhi's talisman, or you can follow the religious morality or constitution. You can use constitution or Supreme Court judgments to back your arguments. So in this way, your case study will become much more interesting. Yeah. Now I'll move towards optional. I'll quickly change the optional because not everyone will have the PSR optional. So uh, I'll just give the basics about this strategy. So PSR, I think most of the times people are scoring less in the paper two, which is the most dynamic section of the PSR optional. So I would say instead of running behind the scholars or comments on various IR issues, I would suggest to develop an analytical mind. So it doesn't require any citations. So your answer should have keywords so that it will make sure that you are a PSR student. Another thing is it should have an analysis, a deep analysis that meets the demand of the question. So I think these two are more important than quoting some random uh, editor or commentary from the various newspapers. So this time I intentionally avoided doing all those things. I focused mostly on the content and analysis part. Like I visualized myself as a foreign policy analyst, and then I wrote with that mindset each and every question. And I used to quote S. Jaishankar, our external affairs minister, as well as the Honorable Prime Minister. Apart from that, I did not use any scholars in my IR section, that is section B of paper 2, PSR paper 2. Okay. Now, with this in mind, like this time I got 139 marks in paper 2 in PSR, which is above average and decent marks. So I would credit that to I would give credit to this approach because last year I had scored very less, and the jump is because of this change in approach. And for PSR paper 1, the focus should be on selecting 5%, which shows that the PSR student, which shows that you have an academic depth, so that you can fetch more marks in the paper 1. I used to select 3 questions from section B and 2 questions from section E. And most of the people, I think, do not give proper, adequate attention to section B of paper 1. So I would say that is incorrect approach because both sections carry equal marks. I know section A is very lengthy and it consumes most of the time, but we should try to give equal time to both sections, and we should perhaps give more emphasis on section B because I see it is very easy and it doesn't require much effort. And for section A, focus should be on writing critical analysis for every question, which most of the aspirants miss. Even I have committed this mistake. Like I used to address the demand and then leave it itself, but I didn't write the criticism in my earlier attempts. But now in this attempt, even if the question doesn't explicitly ask about the criticism, I used to give the criticism, citing various schools of quality as well as various thinkers. So in this way, your answer will look much more holistic. Now I'll shift towards interview preparation. Interview requires a different kind of mindset. You should be updated with current affairs, and you should have curiosity to know about the happenings and the recent developments. And for that, I used to diligently follow Hindu newspaper, and the explain section of the Indian Express, so that I'll be updated with each and every major current event. And also, it is better to give 5 to 6 marks for the interview, so that you'll be adapted to the situation of the interview hall, and you'll not miss the basic things like salutations, as well as the seating posture, voice, and the tone. All these things you can adjust in the marks. And I felt I should not give more marks, because once you give more marks, you lose your originality, and uh, you'll try to give mechanical answers, and I think that will disturb the interview. And for the interview, the main components of the interview uh, should be conversational. Like it should not be a question and answer session. You should try to converse with them. So that requires crisp answers, not give very lengthy answers like we write in mains answer. But the interview requires crisp answer, which will directly hit the bullseye. And also, second thing is your answer should reflect the values, and it should show that you are a person who have applied your mind before giving the answer, and not the person who is just giving a textbook answer without any uh, thought behind it. So these two things are required to succeed in the interview. And now I'll come certain questions which I might have missed. And so So mains answer, I think, you can make some frameworks. One framework could be this social, political, and these kind of framework. Another framework is about the syllabus wise framework. You can start with GS1, and you can have history, geography, society, and GS2 polity. Yeah, so if you keep this in mind, then you can generate points in the mains answer following this template. And when it comes to answering, I rely mostly on content. But if you are able to manage time, then you can use flowcharts as diagrams, so that it will efficiently use the given space, and without compromising on the key of the answer. And you'll be able to finish the questions within the time. And for certain questions, it is mandatory math as well as flowchart. But for other questions, optional. It all depends on your comfort as well as your practice during the mock test. And also for the mains, it is important to write as many tests as possible. Personally, I did not follow any uh, daily answer writing thing. I used to write only the test, uh, full length test, during the time that we get between prelims as well as mains. I used around eight tests in years, and 4 tests for essay, and 8 tests for optional. So in this way, you will get the answer writing practice, and your aim should be to finish all these papers by the end. You should be able to finish all these within 3 hours, and you should not leave any question. And also, you should not write a generic answer. You should add value to every question. So in this way, if you do these things, uh, you'll definitely get good marks in GS. And prelims or mains, you should have a different option. Uh, it is like I did not. combine both of them. Initially, before films, like 4 months or 3 months before films, I used to focus on films itself. It requires a different mindset, as we have discussed. After finishing films, you should start mains. Even though the content is same, your mindset is will be different. It will be analytical mindset for the mains. And PYQs are very, very important for both prelims as well as mains. You should not miss them. Like whenever you get time, you should practice the PYQs of prelim as well as mains. For mains, I think it is beneficial if you make a PYQ notes. Like your every PYQ should have answer in introduction, body, conclusion format with value addition. So this way, it will be helpful in reproducing the answers. And an interview dress code, I think you can follow. Like you can wear two-piece with like it can be in black or it can be navy blue or it can be gray as well. So it all depends on your choice. Interview experience, I think this time I scored a bit less in interview, but in the last attempt I got 185 marks. The key thing is like in interview, you should bring your values. You should bring your in thought to the interview panel, and then you'll score very high. If the interview, it all depends on how the interview uh, courses through from your dash. So I think you should be prepared. Like each and every keyword from your dash should have notes and in the question answer format, so that you will not miss on the direct questions from the dash. And yeah, I think these are the things which I wanted to say. And most importantly, one should learn from the mistakes. Like it is common to make mistakes in the UPSC, but the thing is, once you commit a mistake, you should not repeat them again. So that should be the focus. And also, you have to make incremental steps. You should not commit the same mistake. Like each and every assembly, each and every pass and day, you should add value. You should develop your analysis. You should develop your thinking. And with that, I think over the years, you will be able to succeed. Even though if you will not succeed in your first attempt, I think you will definitely succeed. Which this has proved many times in the past as well. So you have to you have to have the patience as well as perseverance, and you should diligently try to improve each and every time. So that will definitely bring you success. And also, I would suggest that you also have a backup for you. You can attempt various other exams so that that will reduce the pressure and exam stress, and you can focus more on your exam rather than thinking about your financial difficulties or other psychological things. So I would suggest to prepare for the other exams as well and have a backup. And the mantra for prelims is you should cover as many topics as possible, and you should have curiosity to go beyond the books. And when it comes to mains, it's only two things. First, you should have limited sources, and you should have unlimited practice. If you have these two things, then you will succeed in the main. And when it comes to interview has only two things. One, uh, it should reflect your values, and second, reflect an independent thought, and it should not be a bookish answer. So if you keep these things in mind, you will be able to achieve the success in UPSC exam, not just in the exam but also in your life. And even if you do not succeed, you will have a character which will enable you to shine in any field that you pursue. So with this, I would like to close the session. Yeah, thank you.